Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Friday, May 17th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. And then after that, we'll get moved over to RotoWire, talk about the weather report, which is just going to be any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher for tonight's slate overall. Then after that, we'll get moved over to FanDuel, talk about my core picks for tonight's slate. It's going to be one pitcher, four hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. The cheat sheet is 100% free. It is up on the Sports Affiliation website, so definitely be sure to check that out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So at the pitcher position, ultimately ended up on Taijuan Walker, $9,000. Only got 7 points yesterday, so he was a mess. Pitched 3 1/3 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, but did leave early with a foot injury, so that was kind of unfortunate there. Probably would have had a chance to at least get us to the kind of that push phase yesterday, but if you went with my low end option from the cheat sheet and Christian Javier, that was the best pitcher overall in yesterday's slate. At first base / outfield, we had Connor Joe, $3,000. Only got 3 points, so I did give him a miss. He was 1 for 4. And, when we're at least at that $3,000 range, we're really looking for double digits out of those guys just in general. And then at second base or shortstop, we have Mookie Betts, $4,400. Only got 6.2 points, so he was a miss as well. 0 for 3. Scored a run with a walk, but really wasn't what we were looking for out of him, especially at that elevated price tag. And then at third base, we had Alex Bregman, so a little bit better day for him yesterday, $2,800, got 12.2 points, so he was a hit overall. And then last but not least, we had Nick Castellanos at $2,800 as well, got to 6.7 points. He was a push for us, not anybody that helped our lineups, not anybody that hurt it at the same time. 0 for 4, but he did score a run and have an RBI in that game overall. So not the greatest day overall. You'll have that sometimes, especially with baseball, kind of a big reason that it's kind of important to mix and match, especially at the pitcher position just in general and with some of the stacks. But the best part about DFS, especially these daily DFS sports, is we get to come back the very next day and try it again. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about that weather report for tonight's slate overall. So we're going to start off in Baltimore with the Orioles and the Seattle Mariners, and there's 14% chance of rain out there. Should be good to go, though, overall. And then we're going to keep moving down as we get down to the Cleveland Guardians and the Minnesota Twins. 22% chance of rain in Cleveland for tonight's game. That will be one that we keep a little bit of an eye on tonight. Should ultimately be able to go off, but, that weather could change a little bit throughout the day. Maybe it makes it look a little bit worse as the day moves along. And then the one that probably looks the worst, at least early on today, is down in Atlanta for the Braves and the Padres. 76% chance of rain down there, so definitely one that we're going to keep our eye on as the day moves along. And then we're going to keep moving down once again as we get down to St. Louis. I believe this is the last one for today overall between the Cardinals and the Red Sox. 16% chance of rain there, so probably not a major concern there, but we'll have a little bit of an eye on that as the day moves along. But otherwise, looking pretty strong for today, so about 3 or 4 games that do have double-digit chances of rain. One that looks kind of bad at this point in time down in Atlanta, and then a couple other ones that we'll just be watching as the day moves along. As always, we'll leave any of those updates down in the comments below. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there. So once again, for the core picks, it's going to be a combination of past history versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And it's going to be one pitcher and 4 hitters. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position with Cole Reagans, $9,600. Going against the Oakland A's tonight, a very favorable matchup, averaging just over 31 fantasy points per game on the season. Been a little bit of an up and down start to the year for Cole Reagans just in general, but the high-end upside is very, very high at that. So you'll see it here just kind of as we scroll through this log here. There's lots of 40-plus point performances. There's a couple, single digit. We got the one negative performance there versus Baltimore earlier this year as well, but he has 2 wins on the season, 4.22 ERA. Probably should be a little bit better than he has been so far this year, but definitely do like the upside versus Oakland tonight. He had 61 points pitching against them in his lone start versus them last season, and he did have one relief appearance in his time with Texas, but I'm not really going to talk too much about that. Got some pretty decent history versus these Oakland hitters, although it is a smaller sample size at that. And when we talk about the pitcher position tonight, there is a lot of great options out there, whether it's Tariq Skubal, Freddie Peralta, Cole Reagans, Tristan McKenzie's got really good history versus the Twins, so he did make my kind of low-end option just in general. A lot of good high-end pitchers pitching tonight, so definitely feel free to mix and match as it is a 13-game main slate. Then we're going to move down to first base. You could also play this guy in outfield. It's Jake Bauers of the Milwaukee Brewers. He is $3,000 at this point in time. And, Jake Bauers, I did like him quite a bit when he was initially a prospect way back in the day with the Rays, it seems like. But he's had some pretty good stretches at the major league level. Pretty streaky at that, and seems like he's been on one of those hot streaks as of late. He has hits in 4 out of his last 5 games. 2 of those games have been multi-hit games, and there is 2 home runs during that time span as well. He is the only Brewer to face Hunter Brown, the expected starting pitcher for the Houston Astros tonight. In the past, he is 2 for 3 versus him with 1 home run that game last season. So definitely do like his upside once again tonight. He's on that hot streak. It's a really good matchup overall. As long as he's in that starting lineup, he's going to look like a really solid play overall. And I kind of skipped over it too. So when it comes to Jake Bauers, 235 average, 4 home runs, 21 RBIs on the season, averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game. So I want to throw that out there, but does definitely look like a solid play once again. Then we're going to get moved down to third base with Rafael Devers, and he is 8 for 18 in his career versus Kyle Gibson, the expected starter pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. Tonight he's on a modest 6-game hitting streak. 2 of those games have been multi-hit games, 2 home runs during that time span as well. If you look at what Rafael Devers has done so far on the season, it's 288 average, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he's averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. So it's been a pretty good start to the year for him overall. I know that he was dealing with a little bit of a shoulder problem at times super early in the season, but seems to be over it at this point in time. Then we're going to move down to the outfield with 2 outfielders here. We're going to start off with Shohei Ohtani at $4,800. And he is 10 for 24 with 4 home runs in his career versus Frankie Montas, the starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds tonight. And, Shohei Ohtani, $4,800, probably worth it once again. He has hits in 3 out of his last 4 games. All 3 of those games have been multi-hit games. There was the 1 home run during there as well. So definitely like the upside that he could have tonight in a very favorable matchup versus Frankie Montas, who he's done really well against in the past. And it's a 360 batting average, 12 home runs, 30 RBIs, averaging over 15.5 fantasy points per game for Shohei Ohtani on the season. And then last but not least, we're going to go down to Leody Taveras of the Texas Rangers. And he is 2 for 4 in his career versus Tyler Anderson, the expected starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels tonight. Leody Taveras has hits in 15 out of his last 18 games, so really good there. 2 home runs during that time span, I believe 2 or 3 stolen bases as well. Although he has only had 4 multi-hit games during that time span. Feels like a reasonable safe play, at $2,700 tonight, 254 batting average, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs on the season. So not anybody that's going to probably make or break our lineup, but feels like a really safe play on tonight's slate overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you only have $11,500 remaining, just under $2,900 per player. So we're going to have to find some cheaper value options on tonight's slate. I think there's definitely going to be some there by the time we do get to lock. So kind of feel free to mix and match some of those guys. Feel free to mix and match at pitcher. And then also if you wanted to pay down from Shohei Ohtani, open up some more money, that way you could definitely do that as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. So once again, the cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on the Sports Affiliation website, so definitely be sure to check that out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. So we're going to start off with the Atlanta Braves. Obviously, this is the game that does have the biggest weather concern for the day overall. So keep that in mind as you're building out your lineups. They're going against Matt Waldron of the San Diego Padres, the knuckleballer himself. They have no history versus him in the past, but the Braves, they do have that pretty good lineup just in general. Obviously, Austin Riley's been dealing with that side oblique issue as well, so we'll see whether or not he's good to go tonight or not. But definitely do like the upside of some of these Braves hitters just in general if this game ultimately ends up going off. Then we have the Los Angeles Dodgers going against Frankie Montas. A lot of these guys have hit him really well in the past. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy. I think there's even more there that I'm forgetting at this point in time, but it looks like a really favorable matchup for them. Then we have the Milwaukee Brewers going against Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown has not pitched well whatsoever at this point during the season, and I believe he got moved to the bullpen, so he's probably not quite as stretched out at this point in time. Could be a really favorable matchup for the Brewers. Obviously, like I said when I was talking about Jake Bauers, he is the only Milwaukee Brewer to face Hunter Brown in the past, but not concerned about that whatsoever. And then last but not least, we have the Royals going against the Oakland A's. I believe it's supposed to be Kyle Muller on the mound. We'll see if that's the case by the time we do get to game time. Obviously, could be some moving pieces there, but definitely do like the Royals upside versus him. Not a long list of history, but some pretty successful history for most of their hitters versus him in the past. But with that being said, that's what I do have in terms of the recap, the weather report, the core picks, and the top GPP stacks for today, Friday, May 17th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then, as always, if there's any updates that do come out throughout the day, kind of those weather updates, whether or not like a starting pitcher changes or anything else like that. Heck, even between the time I was researching last night and this morning, last night it was listed as Cole Irvin as the starting pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles. This morning it looks like John Means. So keep an eye on that one as the day moves along, just in case that changes for whatever reason. Same thing applies to any other game. If there's any other changes whatsoever, we'll be leaving them down in the comments. But with that being said, if you're checking out my channel for the very first time or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS going on Monday through Friday in terms of the core pick videos. And then I do also have my UFL DFS video coming out once a week. That one will be up later today, probably, early evening, maybe a little bit later evening. Just kind of depends on some of the news and how long it actually takes me to edit that video overall. So definitely be sure to check that out if that's something you're interested in as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user at any one of those three sites, when you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Parlay Play and Prize Picks, it's a 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.